Hello, everyone. It's Podcasters Unleash again. It's Monday, 7 p.m. London time, and we're back with another topic. This time, we're going to talk about cryptocurrency, something that most of you guys are hearing about it in the news, with your friends, with the neighbors. So it's a hot topic. We have Carla here as well. Lovely, Carla, join us. Okay, let's have our. I'm going to introduce my co host first. Actually, I will let my co hosts introduce themselves. And then we're going to start with some questions. We're going to analyze how we can get into this cryptocurrency business, the game of Bitcoins, maybe. Okay, Carla, let's go with you.
Hi everyone, I'm Carla. I'm the host of the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, which is a podcast all about education and well-being. So if you're interested in those topics, feel free to reach out. Over to you, Howler.
Hi, I'm the host of the podcast Women Stories, where I share stories from women who rose above different challenges. So catch my podcasts on different podcast platforms. Over to you, Victor.
Yeah, hi, I'm Victor. So I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast, where I actually speak to entrepreneurs who've moved from 9 to 5 towards a lifestyle of freedom. So they have their own businesses. So, yeah, over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Victor. Simon Rushton, excuse me. Podcast is Taxi Chronicles, people with real stories, sharing their real life experiences. Africa Investor Stories, people who've invested around the world, sharing their experience of what it's like to invest in the mother continent. Back to you, Matilda.
And my podcast is Coffee with Matilda, a journey to self. It's about finding yourself, loving yourself, and coming out of adversity stronger than before. Well, we're in a bear market right now. Whoever is playing not playing, but is familiar with the stock exchange and cryptocurrency, they know exactly what the stressful time it is and what are actually opportunities are arising for lots of people as well if they know what they're doing. But before we're going to start about talking about the prices and how to invest in cryptocurrency, let's describe what is cryptocurrency. Has anyone here has a knowledge of cryptocurrency, guys? I know Carla has it and Simon has it.
I do. I've just come off the DeFi Academy. As you guys know, I jump off there and come on here. So yeah, I have a little bit of knowledge about cryptocurrency, but it's one of those things that you don't really need to know that much about. You just need to get on with it and do it. You just need to get your feet in the water, get the experience, buy some crypto, trade some crypto, move some crypto around from hot wallets to cold wallets, and just learn on the go. You will never know everything about it. And one of the best quotes I've heard so far since I've been doing this crypto stuff is that you don't know anything about the internet, but you've been using it for like 20 years. If I asked you to describe to me how the internet works, you would have no idea. But you use it every day for loads of stuff. With crypto is the same. You don't need to know how it works. If you start doing that, you'll end up down black holes. You'll end up confused and you won't actually do anything, especially now with the markets and how it's looking. You don't need to know anything. Just do it. Just find out what to do and start doing it. That would be my recommendation to get us started.
Very nice. What is your experience, Simon, in cryptocurrency?
I'd agree with what Carla was saying. It's very true. You don't understand something, you do it. I had a conversation with a journalist for crypto and stock exchange. I asked him, does he invest in crypto? He said, no, it's too volatile. I said, okay. I said, but I do know many young people, especially getting a taxi, who bought flats and houses with cryptocurrency. And he went, oh, really? Oh, it's so. But I said to him, basically, mate, there's two kinds of people. You've got the more of the working class, everyday people who are willing to take risks to get what they want, to get what they need. And then there's the more comfortable people who are people who want a sure thing, especially he's coming from the investor background. He thinks he should have the inside story. Well, you can carry on having the inside story while the working class is making money. waiting for the wind sides to, I should say. And he went, yeah, it's about right. I see what you mean. But in his mind, he still could only operate on the basis of he needed a sure thing. Moral of the story is that if you're a person who's a hesitant and has to know all the facts about what it is that makes you money, then don't bother. Um, but if you're a person who's happy to realize, yeah, you can lose, you can win, you go ahead with it, and you'll more than likely win. There are people who I have met who have, excuse me, have somewhat of an inside knowledge because they really follow it in depth and they understand who makes what coins and the politics behind the coins, etc., etc. But then obviously you've got two sides of things. You've got the decentralized and centralized. But in the meanwhile, I'll just hand back to you, Matilda.
Yeah, we are hearing about this, that cryptocurrency have been described as this transformative technology that could revolutionize certain industries. And one of the industries that all of us know is the banking system. And is that fascinating? I know, Kaula, you always, I mean, most of us here are against banks, the big banks, but you always talk about it. And I'm fascinated to know what is your take about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general, and how people can trade and have a banking system that it really benefits them than benefiting the government and the powerful people behind the banks. What do you think?
Um, just in general, if you know, for example, in France, we pay a lot of taxes,
Yeah.
especially in the middle class. We pay a lot, and if you don't invest in it, the money will go to the government.
Hmm.
So I have seen a lot of shift in people here investing and opening new bank accounts for crypto to invest in it.
Hmm.
And also, when you don't pay taxes by yourself, like the government takes your money out of your bank account. So you see, it's a form of control. So if you don't invest, if you don't educate yourself about crypto or other types of investment, your money will go to the government. Um, so I think it's a good way for young people, millennials and Generation Z, to create their wealth. I think we see a lot of people now from our generation. They are creating a lot of wealth from cryptocurrency, which is very good. But I think the three aspects that we need to understand is you can't have this higher knowledge of crypto if you don't have a good network and if you don't invest in yourself and educate yourself, and if you don't build your crypto in the bear market. So I think are the three aspects that you need to have as a beginner in crypto to have investments, good investments.
Yeah, because cryptocurrency. I remember I took cryptocurrency class, London Real. It was in November 2021, and it was 64,000 one Bitcoin. Now is 29 something. I mean, last week was close to 27 at one moment.
Yeah.
It's very vital. Do you think why actually, this is my question. Why do you think younger generation, as you said, the Z generation, likes to invest in it, whereas our generation, millennial, are a little bit afraid in it, and then generation older than us, like Victor generation,
Mm.
they are more hesitant to come in.
I think Generation Z, they are born with internet and they have seen a lot of informations through the internet. And also, investing in crypto is accessible to everyone, regardless of age or anything.
Mhm,
And we know that when we are getting out of high school or college, we are desperate need of money and how
mhm,
to invest. And I think it's just the mentality has changed, and a lot
mhm.
of people now they see that there is a big opportunity to invest and to have money and return on investment very interested in crypto. So I think it's just like the mindset shift. I think, for example, the previous generation, they were inherited this kind of investing in land and properties and stuff
Mhm.
because it's something tangible, and they have a legacy. They have a reason why to do that. But I think Generation Z, they don't have that legacy to leave something to children or to think of the future as the previous generation, which is something interesting to talk about.
This is interesting. This is where Victor can come in. Victor, what is your understanding of cryptocurrency? And what is your surrounding talking about it, your generation of people? And why do you think that the Z generation is investing more?
Um, thank you, Matilda, for just putting my age bracket out there. Um, yeah, I would say to me, what I understand as cryptocurrency is just a form of payment. Anything
Uh-huh.
beyond that, it's blue ocean to me. It's don't even I don't even want to like think about dipping my toe into that. But I understand it's a form of payment, which I've used several times to buy stuff, and I'm looking forward to how I can incorporate it into my own business, as a form of receiving funds from instead of going through the banks or exchange rates. So it's just a form of just you wire it. So I'm still thinking about do how to do that. Yeah, and for the generation Z and the millennials who feel not feel anyways, but the adoption of cryptocurrency because they understand more about its intricacies, how it works, how it flows, and also for my generation, we saw the internet grow. So, see, looking at this one now, okay, we've seen so many things come and go, but now, I don't know. This has lasted for over 10 years now. So we're still watching, and hopefully we may adopt, or we may come into the boat. But anything apart from using it as a payment unit, I have no idea.
Victor, please don't buy pizza with Bitcoins.
Why
That
not?
don't do that. I mean, you don't even know the story of a pizza? Oh, in a Bitcoin? Oh my God, Victor, we need to give you a different lesson. This is cryptocurrency 101. We have to give you a prerequisite for this class. uh, it was
What's
I
wrong with
think
pizza? What's wrong with pizza and crypto?
so. It was I think 2000
A nine, I
um,
think, or seven.
9. So this guy is putting saying I'm gonna sell a pizza for bitcoins. I mean, no, he wants to buy a pizza with bitcoins, and now these bitcoins are 100 millions of dollars, and he bought it. At that time, obviously, the price was not even $1. So now, imagine if he would have kept those bitcoins, he would have been a multi-million
Oh,
dollar man. Yeah,
oh, okay.
exactly. So, uh, yes, Simon.
Victor, I think you've got a story similar to that pizza guy, haven't you, about Bitcoin?
Yeah, I was thinking if
Do you
it's
want to share, Victor?
Yeah, go ahead, Simon.
It's your story. It's what you bought with Bitcoin.
Oh,
Come on, Victor, say it.
go ahead. Just pass me now.
Carla
Uh,
wants to say something.
Victor brought something very. What did you buy, Victor, again? He bought something with Victor Bitcoin that's equivalent to pizza, basically. Yeah, very early days. Right. Back to you.
Yeah, Victor, right now, don't use Bitcoin as your payment. Just keep it. We have to keep it. Do you have anything, Carla? You were saying it, and then we go to the
Yeah,
comment.
no, I was thinking about the guy in the UK who lost like 280 million in Bitcoin. because he had it on a laptop, and the laptop was actually accidentally thrown out into the rubbish because he had two identical laptops. And then he basically propositioned the council somehow, and managed to get access to the landfill, and was trawling through the landfill bit by bit to try and locate this laptop that had like 280 million pounds worth of Bitcoin on it. It's just, I don't think he's ever found it, but it's just the craziest story I've ever heard. He bought the Bitcoins when he bought 7,000 or something, just over 7,000 Bitcoins back in 2013, when they weren't worth that much, but then realized that they'd gone up in price and that he had the wrong laptop. I don't know how his heart took the stress, but I'd love to know what happened to him.
Also, I've heard some people that they lost their the code for their cold wallet or their MetaMask. That's like, imagine you know that you're a millionaire and you cannot get hold of it. I think I'm gonna kill. No, I wouldn't kill myself, but I'll be very depressed.
Yeah, no keys, no coin. If you don't have your keys, you do not have the coins. You do not have the access to it. So you have to keep your keys secure and keep your wallet somewhere safe, and make sure that you know the private keys to get into your wallet. Otherwise, it is a big disaster. It's just like losing your wallet with cash in it, or losing your card, isn't it? Yeah.
There. Oh, we have like Sasha is active
Sasha is
today.
back.
So let's. Sasha is tired but very active. Thank you, Sasha. Let's go. What is he saying?
Yes, his
Sasha?
saying is playing is the correct term. Speculation is not investment with a return and a clear vision of the percentage return. I asked when I was a trader a simple question to an old master in the desk: what is the value of a stock? The answer was simple: what the guy in front of you is ready to pay at the T moment. What is the value of crypto? Just the value of the guy in front of you who is ready to pay to you at the T moment. Is just speculation, nothing else. It's interesting. What do you think, guys?
Well, there was this guy that he was talking recently. I forgot his name, but maybe Sasha can remember his name. He was saying the cryptocurrency will crash. For example, Bitcoin right now is $29,000. Earlier this year, it was close to 40,000. He was saying it will go between 7,000 and 3,000. So he was saying save your investment, don't put money in it. In a couple of months, it will go down. And a lot of people were talking about it. I'm gonna look up to him to see who is a very famous trader, and he was explaining by governments, because till now there was no rules and regulations about it, but now with governments understanding that if they're not controlling the cryptocurrency market, they are missing out in a way. So now all the governments are trying to chip in a way to create regulations towards it. And once they have regulation, the price will decline. This was according to this guy, but I need to bring his name because
Yeah, but, you know, so many countries' central bank have started introducing their own digital currencies for easy payment. I know we have the e-naira, you know, which is an equivalent, but nobody actually uses that. So you can actually just from your naira account, you can activate an e-naira account, which is more digital. But the thing is, you have your cash, which is sitting on your account. This is still ones and zeros, and you have so you can actually transfer that to the only thing. The process it goes through and changes into pounds or dollars or euros. So that is the gatekeepers is what is actually. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Simon.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, Victor. The government can create what they want. If people don't want to use it and they're going to stick to the decentralized currency, then the government's always going to be one step behind. I have a friend who was on the phone to him last night, and he said his colleague works for the government, British government, and they're really frustrated now because a lot of the underworld has general people put their money in crypto and they don't know what's going on, and the government can't see it, doesn't know who's got what, just knows that someone ends up with a new car now and then and all these kind of things. And there's no way, unless you can prove that they're drug dealers or something like that, then it's very hard to prove. The government has got laws where you have to prove your earnings if you're living up a certain standard, but it's all grey. And what the government's done is, just as Victor said, created their own form of digital currency or cryptocurrency from around various different countries in the world. But if you think of it, Colombia was the first country to to accept Bitcoin as a currency. Why? Because their main source is cocaine, and you need to be able to funnel that in another way. So the government says, "Yeah, bring it on. We have some of this crypto."
Simon, how can you say their main source is cocaine? That is underworld.
All right, no, I think you misunderstand, Victor. There's certain economies around the world that are banked against what other countries would say are illegal substances, for whatever be the reason. And if that's what it is, that's what it is. It's not about being PC and that kind of thing. It's about a big part of their economy is cocaine. Yeah, it's not. You ever hear someone say, "I want to go to Colombia for banana"? Listen, the Caribbean produces bananas. Africa produces bananas. Yeah. No one needs. Would you rather have 20 bananas or 20 kg of cocaine? Thank you.
Bananas. I said bananas.
Okay. And
Cocaine inside banana.
If you see a hand come across the screen and slap Victor, that's his wife. Say, "Stop being stupid! Cocaine every time." Yeah.
You know, there are some countries like Turkey that they have Bitcoin banks. So,
Yes, I
like
saw that.
Bitcoin ATMs. So, lots of people from Europe or from America, they travel to Turkey to get at least, I mean, I think in every country you can bring cash 10,000 without question. So, they cash it in and just they bring the money inside their own country. So, they don't want to pay tax. I think these are crazy. Or Venezuela is using this kind of system, and I think Argentina as well. They're attracting a lot of Bitcoin tourists.
Mm.
It's interesting. Have you heard anything, Kaula, like that?
Yeah. Actually, when I was walking in the street of Istanbul, I have seen cash machines to take bitcoins, cash it out, and I think also in London they have ones in London
Yeah,
too.
they have some in some shops in the east part of London. Yeah, you have some shops. All you have to do is just get the code, go there, or you have the card. You go there, slot it in, poof, you generate your codes.
And it was interesting for me is Venezuelans, they are adapting to Bitcoin a lot fast. I mean, countries that have a lot of problems right now, they adapt to the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency very faster than European or American countries. And it was interesting because they were saying because their own currency is so not stable that they rather to do business with Bitcoin. They buy medication sometimes with Bitcoin because a lot of times, for example, in Venezuela, this guy was explaining when they want to buy medication, there's no medication in the country. They need to buy medication. By the time they receive that medication, the price has changed. Not like $1 or $2, maybe thousands of dollars has changed. So for them, it's more like lots of people, even older generation, like in Europe, older generation is not using Bitcoin or cryptocurrency that much. But in Venezuela, even older generation are using it because of their currency is not in a secure situation. I think in Iran it's the same as well. Lots of people are trading cryptocurrency. It's interesting. So if you haven't heard, maybe it's a good thing because you're living in a more civilized, or no, in a more economically better country. No, Victor? Do you have any experience with that in Africa? In
Of course,
Nigeria, people are using Bitcoin a lot or
of,
cryptocurrency.
of course, Nigeria is one of the most. I
Mm,
think it will be like maybe top 5 or top 10
mm,
of countries that have adopted um, alternative method of payments, which is crypto.
mhm,
So I think they get see, and the thing is, young young Africans, let me say the millennials or the Gen Zs who are more um, who have who are working remotely,
mhm,
who are running gig economies, building websites and all those kind of. So most of their payments is on crypto. The bank since last year has like really cramped down on exchange houses who have um, accounts with banks. So the central bank kind of like say, oh, you know what, anyone that deals with crypto should not be operating any form of banking within the system. And about I see about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, three banks were fined close to about $1,000 or more than $1,000. They were fined for not adhering to the rules of the central bank, and it is really giving them some. There's nothing they can do about it because people are still exchanging it for them. So all they have to do is to direct it to somewhere else because there's no gatekeeper on this. So that is what the the central banks are trying to do and the banking sector. So outside the banking sector, we have so many unbanked people in Nigeria where it's more than those who are banked. So and they don't really because they see the banks to be, they charge you for this, they charge you for that, they charge you for this, they be so many charges. And not to talk about getting foreign currency. So when you get foreign currency, it's like okay, it is dinner time, and they start like bring the forks and the knife to start cutting percentage this, percentage here, handling fees, this, that. So many admin charges. So, but when it's crypto, boom, it comes in as you ordered it. So if they're paying you $200 in worth of crypto, it is $200 that you're getting. There's no middleman, nothing. So they've adopted this kind of payment for a very long time now.
Well, interesting point you're saying. I know about Iran. For example, you cannot do any trades with Iran with dollars or euro currency. You can do it with Chinese currency or Russian currency, which nobody wants to do it right now. So they do it with Bitcoin right now. So, for example, an American can do a business with Iranian with Bitcoin. But the problem is right now, I mean, it's something that right now people are starting to think about. What if the government starts having regulations and then we'll go after people who've done big amounts of transaction last year or last 2 years? What will happen then? This is something that I think, yeah, Simon.
Oh, see, this is where people need to understand the difference between decentralized and centralized. Even if you've done something previously, the regulation's only going to stand for when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to backdate it. Do you see what I mean? Otherwise, if you think about it, everybody who's in jail because of weed now in America should suddenly get released. Do you understand? So it's the same sense with if you've made money in the early days before the government switched off, the government's always going to be late, it's 10 years behind in any kind of underhanded or crime or anything. They're always trying to catch up. So for anybody out there, I wouldn't worry. And also because the government, like I said, the government can't, the British government, which has been the banking central of the world for many years, has not been able to infiltrate the decentralized currency market. And because they can't do that and they can't control it, then everybody else just crack on and do what you're doing. Do you see what I mean? And stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. I can't stress this anymore, is that people don't have to worry. They just have to think. And when these new currencies come out, whether it's what they're like Victor's talk about in Nigeria, what have you. You can use that for certain things, but by all means, if you want to do stuff that you don't want the government to know about, for whatever be the reason, cryptocurrency is not going away. The decentralized element's not going away. And I know if Victor, I want to buy one of Victor's houses now, yeah, I could buy it on Bitcoin and just send him a load of Bitcoin and here, sign something over to me, sign paper to me, yeah. And on the legal side, Nigerian to British side, he sold me the house for 1 pence or £1 because that would be the minimum of a transaction. And there's nobody to argue that that wasn't a legal tender. It's a legal tender. We sold it for £1. Why? Oh, he's a friend from old times. Really? Well, I just felt charitable. They can't do anything about that. Meanwhile, Witch is whistling as he's walking away. Look, he's getting ideas now for his real estate. He's happy walking to the bank with his cryptocurrency, and he doesn't have to take that out and change it to pounds, sterling, dollars, or whatever. All he has to do is the next person who comes along with Howler, who wants, he's got a Mercedes to sell him. Oh, here you are, Howler. Here's 80 grand in crypto or whatever, and Bitcoin, and he's got his Mercedes and he sold a house. And that's where it is. So you're going to have this undercurrent, which will probably be very strong, just doing business, people doing business. And the government may say you have to prove this, you have to prove that. But there's always ways around things, just like I said with the £1 for a house.
Well, it's interesting what we're talking about right now, as like the behind cryptocurrency is the technology of it, which is blockchain. And I think that's a transformational technology for everyone, because it's not only transforming the banking system for us, how we trade money, how we buy things. It can transform other industries, maybe healthcare or shipping and handling. What do you guys have any idea about it? Or even art. The reason we have NFTs and NFT artists is because of the blockchain, the technology behind it. Do you think it's how?
My
Sorry.
ignorance was what was blockchain.
Well, I don't think I can.
Right, blockchain is this, Victor. We've got 195 countries in the world. Every country, let's say, has a block, yeah, and they're all linked together like a web, like internet. If I sell Howler something, yeah, every 195 blocks have to agree that I'm going to sell Howler something and it's a real thing. Do you understand? That way, when I sold Howler something, when I sold Howler the item, everybody's on the same page. Now at current, it takes quite a long time to do that transaction, yeah, depending on your computer speed and depending on how much and what time of day and what part of the world you're in. Do you see what I mean? But it's a foolproof system because it's not just one person speaking to one person, it's the whole 195, let's say, countries, even though we're not dealing with countries, we're dealing with hidden entities who are talking to each other. So now rolling on to NFTs, non-fungible transactions, as in something that you can't literally touch, but you can only view through the great web. If I create a piece of, Carla with a famous art collection, she creates one of her famous art pieces. Excuse me, where she creates one of the famous art pieces. What happens now, as she's put that out there, all the blockchains have agreed that is her piece of art and it's unique to her. It can only be one. Do you understand? So if anybody makes a duplicate, it won't register because there's only one. Do you understand? So that's where you get people who say, all right, well, I'll take that, I'll take this. And then the thing gets pushed up, as Howard talks about, that 19-year-old who sold something for 68 million, his art collection, because there can only be one. And that's all based on the blockchain. So what the governments today are trying to do, they're trying to create their own blockchain but in agreement with different countries. Obviously, that's very red tape and political because certain governments don't want to get on with certain governments. Certain governments are trying to be supersede and overthrow other governments. So it's not a unified front like blockchain in itself. Yeah, it's are you in what G7 or the G5 or United Nations, and are you doing what we tell you to do and all that kind of other rubbish that they go on with. But generally, what I'm saying here is that the real cryptocurrency is here to stay. They set up a very good platform and it's working. The only people who don't like it are people who are usually investment bankers. I get in the car all the time, and politicians and judges. I think I told you a story about the judge with the man who used his cancer critical health money he got for 150,000. He took 50,000, put it on crypto, and in 3 months he got another 100 grand. When his wife, soon to be his ex-wife, asked the judge to freeze the money, the remaining 100 grand, because he wanted to take that and put it on cryptos. Remember, he's going to be dead sooner or later. She said she wants it because half of that money should be hers, so 75. So he said, just give me 25, please, to the judge. Then the judge specifically said no, because crypto doesn't help the British economy. As far as I'm concerned, whether she's entitled to half or not, I'm freezing the whole remaining 100K. That's how angry politicians, judges and politicians drink from the same gin and tonic bottle kind of thing. That thing. So that's something to take into consideration if you ever go in court because you cheated on your wife. Back to you, Matilda.
I like that. It's a good lesson for anyone that cheats on their partner. Bravo to that judge. Well, Kavya, do we have a comment?
Yes, the latest comment from Sasha. He's saying it's just an opinion, but I will not be surprised to see the Bitcoin under 10K or 5K. There's cycle. If you look carefully, the data, we are going to a depression and probably already a stagflation in a few months. The system is already dying. Energy is the source of the growth economy, but there is no more exponential free energy, and we'll go to a great reset. Yeah, I think it's interesting because even the chairman of the U.S. for execution and exchange commission, he said that cryptocurrency trading will not survive in the next 10 years without regulations. So yes, regulations are coming. Next comment. A pragmatic advice: never mess with central banks. Money is not only a currency. Money is the power. They can kill you when they want. There is no decentralization about power. Perhaps in the kingdom of the illusions, but real life is hard for dreamers. Regulation is coming. They will not tolerate to lose their power so easily. They can destroy this system in one night if they want. I hope people realize that. Yeah. Great
But
comment.
some people, they argue and they say Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, is more valuable than gold. It will take over the space of a gold, that what is gold for us now. It will take the place of gold. So I don't know. It's confusing, it's scary, and it's kind of exciting as well because lots of people can, if they make the right decision, can make very
It,
good amount
it's
of money.
it's gonna be difficult. It can be more. Nah. It might go up, but gold will remain almost stable compared to crypto. Crypto will, speculation. Sasha mentioned speculation. How you feel about it right now? And after that, if Elon Musk comes around and says, you know what, I don't want to accept uh, Bitcoin to purchase Tesla anymore. You see the value goes, pew. If Bezos comes and say, okay, I want to be accepting Bitcoin in Amazon, the value goes, pew. So, oh no, I don't want Bitcoin in my platform. I want Ethereum in my platform. Pew. So you see, but gold, no way. It is the gold standard. So I would say keep
Victor,
Buy
the
your
gold.
wife some gold and stock it.
Victor,
Yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Have a happy wife and a happy investment.
Yeah, it's a happy life as well.
Victor, before I say what I say, I just want to hear how does it go? Pew! Okay. So no, what I'm coming back to again is at the end of the day, what your statement said, Matilda, about the value of gold. Remember, gold is only valuable because the powers that be regulate the amount that is mined. There's enough gold to go around the world in many respects. Yeah. In the things. Remember, in South America, a lot of people used to make plates on it. Plates.
Same as crypto.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean? And well, cryptos, no, within one respect, I understand what you're saying, Victor. The other respect is this: there's with any cryptocurrency, there's a certain amount made on it. So when you get a demand, the higher the demand, the more that's going to be worth. The less demand, the less it's going to be worth. But you're always going to get different cryptocurrencies. Yeah. Now, depending on the population of the world and who's using it, is also going to vary to how much or any one of that currencies decided is going to be made. But the point is, whether it's decentralized, when we're referring to decentralized things, which is what I'm mainly talking about here, you can have countless amounts of different coins, and the more of the population, the more value those coins can rise as a whole. Obviously, they're not banked against anything, but as we know, paper money is not banked against anything right now anyway. And the thing is, when the government brings in, as they're bringing in their centralized, stress centralized, not decentralized currency or cryptocurrency, what is that banked against? Because it's not banked against gold. It's just all they're doing is taking the paper money and saying,
I think it's trust.
Thank you, if you want to see it like that. But if you trust the government nowadays, then by all means, you've got their fee. So, but what I'm saying here is, at the end of the day, just like Victor said, we go with the trust element. We know the government just prints the West America and England printed a load of paper money just to get through the lockdown. Now, if you think about that, the only people who've got somewhat substantial money are people with a lot of natural resources who control their own natural resources. So you've got the Russia, you've got the China. They're not in debt. America's in debt to China, but yet they're borrowing money to Africa, which is absurd. Yeah. But the point being, you've just got trust in that when Africa says, can I have some money, America, let's say, I'm just generalizing here before Victor crucifies me. America say, yeah, and Africa trusts American dollar is going to hold it back.
When a country in Africa says,
sorry?
I said when a country in Africa says,
okay. Well, one of the 54 countries, is 52 or 54? I can't. 54. 54. Thank you. One of the 54 countries, ask for some money or whatever, or for whatever. They're on the basis that they trust that the dollar is going to be secure in what it's done. And the dollar is only secure in what it's done because of the manipulation they can do around the world. But when that manipulation is underwritten, Now, what I will say in relation to what Sasha said about they can shut it down overnight, I would beg to differ, because if that was the case, the British government would have done that in this country with crypto, with Bitcoin and all those things a long time ago when they realised they're losing lots of money. Because one thing the British government doesn't like is people not pay their taxes. And I've just had a story the other day where my mate's mate was meant to be arrested. Yeah, he had been doing some stuff with the old English gangsters, and he had acquired 35 properties, some of them commercial properties. And he stopped being in the underworld and he's just living life. And then the government came after him 20, 30 years later, as they were allowed to do as a government. And they said, we're going to arrest you. But they should have arrested him and put him away straight away. But they said, no, we're not really interested. We just want the money. And they got 5 million off him. And then they kind of just left him. So you haven't got nothing now. But he did. He had some properties in other people's names. But he said if Bitcoin was around in his time, he would have been laughing, because there's nothing the government would have been able to do to him, because they wouldn't have known what he had. and how he got it.
I think Kala mentioned something about digital gold just now. Kala is dropping some bombs or some gems. What's up, Kala?
Carla,
Yeah,
what are
well,
you dropping?
no, because you guys were talking about gold, and Bitcoin is often referred to as digital gold, and Ethereum as digital silver, and then you've got all the other coins behind, which might be the bronze or whatever you want to call them, other precious metals. But it is often compared to precious metals, and a lot of people believe that it's going to replace all of that in the future. And a lot of people also talk about the fact, as Simon and Victor were talking earlier, about the fact that our money isn't worth anything anyway, it isn't backed by anything, and it hasn't been backed by anything. And in a sense, it's been digital for a long time. If you've been using your contactless card, which most of us have, I mean, for the last 10 years, we've been seeing a massive push towards removing cash from circulation and getting everyone to pay by card. But during the lockdown, I think in 2020, that really accelerated, and some places just do not accept cash now. So I think we've been going digital financially for a long, long time. And really, it would only take one generation before we will see a complete shift to digital, in which case cryptocurrencies isn't going to seem that much of a foreign concept, really. If I talk to my son, who's 11, about digital money, it just makes sense to him, because he's got a card. He's got a contactless card, which I didn't have when I was 11. When I was 11, it was all cash. Your parents gave you cash, and I don't think I had a bank account until I was like 16 years old. So I only knew about money, but my son has a bank account and he has a contactless card, and I transfer money to my son all the time. If he asks for money for something, I just transfer it digitally. So it's very rare that he sees money. And actually, he's of that generation as well, which has been around for a while, that if you give him coins, he'll just look at you like, what are you doing? He doesn't want the coins any more than I do. When I was a kid, if your parents wanted to get rid of their loose change, they would give it to you. But now, if you're giving the kids loose change, they're like, nah, I don't want that. Can you put it on my card, please? So later, if I'm saying something to him about digital money, it'll just be normal to him, because it isn't really going to be that much of a transition for him from contactless cash, which is just fiat currency, it's just numbers on a screen, to crypto. It's going to be the same thing for him. And also, he's in the games. He's into gaming now as well. So using that card to do stuff in games and buying skins and all that kind of stuff is just normal for him. So NFTs and metaverse and all of that is just, it's what he's into. So I can imagine in 10, 15, 20 years time, him being fully digital when it comes to finance and stuff.
It's very interesting what you're saying, Carla, and I want to bring our conversation to the current affairs. I know Carla or you are so much, Simon and Victor as well. You guys are all into, what's happening in the world. Let's come back to the Canadian story. Canada was a perfect example of how cryptocurrency, a couple of months ago, it was around, I think, February, can play a dual role of social support, but can also use to evade sanctions. And then we can look at it at Ukraine and Russia war as well. How do you guys feel about it? I mean, don't you think governments are feeling weaker right now because they cannot control people's transaction and how they can help each other via Bitcoin? For example, in this example was Bitcoin. Do you guys remember the Canada story? The trucks?
Yeah, but that wasn't about Bitcoin, from what I understand. I thought that was just about the fact that he blocked their bank accounts.
Yeah,
Because
but they transformed Bitcoins to these people's account
I didn't hear
to
that.
support that.
Yeah, that's the beauty of what I'm saying. And this is when people understand, because clearly they understood. There's some geeky truck driver or son or daughter or someone's gone, Dad, don't worry. I said you some Bitcoin. Bitcoin what? Bitcoin what? Don't worry, you can buy some burgers. That kind of thing. And then the way they've gone. And then now the Trucking Federation are saying, hail to the government. So they're going to be really upset with that government. Now they're going to be sticking to the currency that works for them, and then the government can't hold them to ransom and make their families suffer from having food on the table. So you've just ostracized, I don't know how many truckers in Canada, but let's say there's 250,000 or something like that. It's a big country, you need a lot of trucks to get around, yeah? That's a lot of people. And they all talk, and they all married. Let's say many of them married or have second wives, have children, and they say, whatever you do, don't trust the government. That's my best Canadian accent, by the way. Don't trust the government. Stick to Bitcoin, F the government and all that kind of thing. And that they've laid a seed of hatred, and they're there talk about their friends, and their kids will go to school and talk to other kids. And you'll grow up with Carlin's son's generation who will say, yeah, this is what we do. We're not interested in centralized, we're doing decentralized, and we're happy to take risks. Because when it comes down to it, if you think about it, it's all about taking risks. Are you happy to pay 20% on your money, or are you happy to take a risk? And that's one tax that the government, because we talk about regulation, the British government brought in 20% tax for cryptocurrency on centralized platforms. So what were you going to do now? If you're a person, you say, well, why am I going to give you 20% and I can go and do it with these over here? Yeah, my money may go missing, but I got my cold wallet. Do you see what I mean? And I'm happy to take a sure thing or something that's more, I trust what's going on here more than you guys. Do you see what I mean? Yeah, because remember, everybody deals with crypto. Most people, it's not their main job. So if I'm getting employed, just to let people know, in England, if I'm employed, and let's say I'm on the 30% tax bracket, yeah, paying 30%, I don't want to be in the 50 or 60% tax bracket because I've suddenly made money on crypto. So I'm going to keep that hush-hush and let the government know what I'm doing with what the money that they say they have to give me via my workplace. It has to go to the bank by law. Do you understand? So the government can know what's going on and take their pound of flesh. So,
but actually, you can't get into crypto in general if you don't have a bank account in the first place.
Over to Carla on this.
Yeah.
Carla, you was explaining something about that.
Well, you can with Bitcoin, because the Bitcoin is in a league of its own, in the sense that Bitcoin you could get access to that without, and it's always been the case with Bitcoin. It's got sort of a black market or underground reputation. But if you're dealing with other coins and trying to buy different coins and exchange and trade and all that, you do have to go through the banks. You've got centralized exchange and you've got decentralized. If you're dealing with centralized, which most of the activity goes through, you've got the KYC process where you've got to declare, you've got to put your ID, your proof of address, all of that kind of stuff. And it's becoming more and more centralized. Sasha mentioned this earlier. The regulations are well underway now. Most banks are watching out for people doing things with cryptocurrencies, and they're making more and more restrictions. The KYC process is getting more tedious through the centralized exchanges, and the amount of decentralized activity is reducing. I think the days when you could just do anything you wanted using Bitcoin are, if they're not gone completely, they are going very fast. And there's a lot of tracking, a lot of monitoring, and actually a lot of people also think that in the future the centralization will be much heavier with crypto because of the blockchain, because the blockchain is a ledger, it's a record. So those people who think that, I'm going to be able to dodge the taxman or dodge things by doing things in the crypto space, I think that's a very naive thing to think. I think Sasha's right when he says that you can't really mess with power. Power structures are there for a reason, and they might sometimes look like they're sleeping, but I don't know. I'm a firm believer in paying your taxes, actually. I'm not with Sam. I'm not with you on that one. I believe in paying your taxes, because
I believe
that heart attack that you get if the taxman finds out and comes for you. I don't want that.
I don't disagree about paying taxes. I'll just let that make sure. But I do have an issue with how the government spends my tax money, and the fact that in the last 12 years they brought out 15 new different taxes in England. 15.
But Where's the freedom in that? Sorry, Simon. Where's the freedom in that? If they keep on, if the regulation keeps on coming.
There's no freedom. I think that's a myth. I think the idea of freedom related to decentralized finance and crypto and all of that is a myth, really. Mostly, I think the more you learn about it, the more you realize that it has a degree of freedom because it's a different system from the banking system as we know it. But also the freedom comes from the fact that, because for us that are alive now, for us that understand about the downside of the existing financial system, there's a chance to get in, there's a chance to shape what's going to happen in the coming years, there's a chance to have investments in it, there's a chance to contribute to the way that it's regulated in a way that it didn't happen with the financial system before, because we were just born into it. And didn't really know it, and probably still don't know anything about the financial system we use. Whereas with this new system, we can learn about it, we can influence it, we can get into the space early and shape the way that it develops. We can push for ethics and values and a level of control. But also it does open up the way for people who are unbanked. For example, Bitcoin, if you're from an unbanked country or an unbanked group of people, having access to Bitcoin can give you a means to be economically active and to take part in things that you probably couldn't have done before. But full freedom away from governments and all of that, I don't think we even really want that. I think people think they want that, but if you really think about what that means, I don't want to know what the world looks like if people are fully free to do whatever they want economically. I don't think that will lead to a good place any more than the current financial system has. There will always be inequalities and corruption. Imagine the criminal underworld or whatever being decentralized and free to do whatever they want. That would be scary.
We were in Armenia when end of February when the war started, and it was like scary to see a lot of Russians. I mean, millions of Russians came to Armenia, and also Ukrainians came to Armenia because of the Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They do their business in that field. Yeah, a lot of young generation, and all the banks were close to them. But because of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, they could have sustained their life. And it was interesting to see that, how this cryptocurrency is changing lives and changing how people are affected by current affairs. I think it's something that was very interesting to know. Okay, so I'm going to go to my last question. And my last question is, why do you guys think that the new generation is more pro about cryptocurrency? Is it because they are more in tune with technology? But is it because of when you're younger, you don't have a lot of responsibility, you take risks because there's nothing to pay back a lot? Do you think that's the reason? And if so, is it fair? Because we're going to have a Z generation that is going to be very wealthy, wealthier than their parents, wealthier than their grandparents. The concept of money, the concept of earning money won't be the same as a grandpa thinking, oh, I have to own a land, or I have to be a doctor, or I have to be an engineer to serve my people, also do good to my people and make money and have a good living. Do you think that can affect the society?
That is my prayer, Matilda, for my kids to be wealthier than me. I have no problem with that. They should be as rich, they should be as wealthy as they want to. So I have no problem with that. So the only thing is, I just have to do me, and I make sure what is done for me, what is passed on to me, I try as much as possible to pass on something tangible to them, and that is it. So I won't have a sleepless night about that. If not, the first thing that came to my mind was lack of responsibilities. So that's why they they will just jump in and just do. But on retrospect, that is how the future is. That's where it's going into. And if my dad was alive, he would like kicking himself like, what are you talking about? You get. So he was of a generation where if you want to call London from Nigeria, you have to like go to the main office of the National Telecommunication Office.
Oh,
Yeah. And you see the big massive telephone there, you get the handset, and telex. Let me know, just does any of you know telex? So if you want to send message from the factory to your business partner in London, there's this thing called telex. So it's not it's Carla may know, Simon may know, but I don't know about you guys. Telex. So it's a big massive machine. It's just like those photocopy machines now that's inside the bank, the big one. So all you do is it goes, well, if you want to say hello, it goes for like maybe like 10 minutes, like and just being a slip of paper like this with dots on it.
He's talking the operator, Carla. Remember the
No,
operator?
it's not this is telex, so it just comes with
Telex
with
machine.
dots on it. So they use the dots and just read the telex like it's, oh, okay. He says hello.
that's it.
So you'll be like, so you can actually have your phone and do some video calls with someone that is, what kind of witchcraft is this? So, you know, I wish you guys a very fantastic future. And I'm happy to just watch.
Very nice. What about you, Simon? What is your thought about it?
Well, I think partly what you agree with what you said, Matilda, that the young people are happy to take risks, and when you're young, you haven't got much commitments, and also, I don't know the age demographics or the age group when we say young, but if you consider the decision-making part of your brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25, and most children don't have children before 25, or young people, let's say, then risks is the order of the day. You have it for breakfast, dinner, and lunch, in that respect. And also, they understand technology, and they have more time. They live on their phones, and they don't have a parents. As parents, we don't give them the responsibilities that we necessarily had. So you don't. A lot of parents don't say, when you come home, you've got to do this housework. You've got to go do shopping. You've got to come back. You've got to do the cooking. Then you've got to clean down the house, and all those things that my grand generation taught me. My children don't do that. They come around and say, "I want to go to PlayStation," and that kind of thing. And they're just left in the world alone. And then if you think about it, the Sims games and those are incorporating NFTs and digital money. So it's getting them ready for the real things that was coming on. So there you have it.
What about you, Carla?
Can you just repeat the question? Because I think we've covered loads of different topics there.
I'm saying, like, because obviously they're young, the Z generation, they are taking more risks because of their age, and also they don't have responsibility, and they can be very successful in crypto world than older generation. That means they can make a lot of more money than any of other generation in the world has done it. Do you think there's danger into it?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the thing that they make more. I think it's relative. I think we think it's more because we're looking at it in today's terms. But I think if we look back to when the internet first came out, the generation that capitalized on the internet also made more than the previous generation before. I think in my lifetime, we've seen an increase in the number of people that can become millionaires, but we've also seen a devaluing of a million. When I was a kid, a million was a lot, but now it's not really a lot. So I think it's all relative to the generation. And I think that we were also risk takers. I remember the first time I was sending an email, and people who were older would have said, "Where's it gone?" because it wasn't an actual letter, they would have said that wasn't secure. They would have said it disappeared into thin air, but it didn't. It arrived at the person that I sent the email to. Or the first time that I wired money, or did something paid a bill online. Some people still are scared to pay bills online because they haven't caught up with the modern technology. I know when my dad was still alive and he saw me doing things on my phone, and he said, "Oh, are you going to buy top up for your phone?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I've topped my phone up." He was like, "What? You can top your phone up on your phone?" Like, "Yeah, Dad." So I think it's relative to the generation. I don't think that it's any different now than it was when we were growing up. I just think it's accelerated, and I think that maybe younger people have access to things. So you could get rich at 11 or 12 now in a game, which you probably couldn't do when we were kids. So those things are different, but I think it's all relative. And I noticed Sasha said something. He used the word cycle. I do think humans go in cycles, and I kind of sometimes when I watch what's happening with crypto and with DeFi and with NFTs and all of that, I kind of wonder if we're kind of cycling back to a barter economy somehow. Because if you remove tangible money, you remove banks, and then you have this system where everything's digital. Sasha also mentioned that this could be pulled at any moment. And if it was pulled, we wouldn't have any money. So then we would end up having to resort back to a barter economy or some kind of trade system. So it kind of feels like we might be circling back to that somehow. We're letting go of the concept of money, which I don't think would be a bad thing. And we're getting back to this idea of you send me something invisible and I'll send you something invisible. And we'll trade using that. But maybe that's just me looking ahead and thinking creatively about where we might end up, let's say in 50 to 100 years' time. I don't think there would be anything wrong with us going back to an honest barter and trade economy. And if digital finance is going to take us there, I don't know. Let's see. I think it's going to be interesting.
Lovely. We have a new person in the chat room today, Christopher Gray. I don't think that I've seen you before, Christopher. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for commenting. Kaula, shall we read some comments? I think Nelson is in the chat room as well.
Yes, Nelson was asking Sasha, which is like, is it depression or a strong recession that we face? And in response, that was very interesting from Sasha. Is saying is recession is a cycle. The problem is more serious actually, and that's why they talk about great reset. Debts are based on the future grow economy, but you can't grow without less energy production. This is the subject of discussion in Davos actually. Um, and we have a new audience here, Christopher Gray. He's saying young people don't know anything about the freedom that once were. Fair enough. They don't realize that the currency will be programmable and the ability to spend will be able to be monitored and limited.
Very nice. Christopher Gray, do you have investment in cryptocurrency? If you like to answer, that would be lovely to know. And what about you, Kaula? What do you think about the new generation going to be much more richer than us? How do you feel about it?
I don't think we missed the train as millennials. We still have hope. But I think digital finance and blockchain is the new internet, and a lot of people were not believing in the technology, like the internet before in the beginning of the 90s. They were like, it's a crap. And I think we are going to see a new wealth coming up, and it's benefiting everyone. But I think also we're going to have a lot of regulations afterwards, as we discussed.
Very nice. And I think we have Sasha answering something about freedom. Let's read that and wrap it up because we are over our time.
Yeah, well, yes, freedom is related to energy. It's a luxury. Without resources, there is no freedom. Even 4,000 ago, philosophers understood that in cycles, but the actual problem is the meadows. Report already 50 years ago, resources have limits. Grow economy have limits. Yes.
Very nice. Okay, so I'm gonna, and actually, Sasha is bringing another topic here. He's discussing with Christopher, and he's bringing another topic. Do you want to read the last one? Because it's interesting about COVID and the relation with where the economy is heading.
Yeah. Yeah, about Shanghai people and the relation between energy and freedom. Do you think they closed the international port for COVID? What
It's
do you
a,
think, guys? I don't.
I mean, if anyone wants to answer it in one sentence, if not, we need to go.
I think I don't think I
Victor,
can't remember the Chinese actually closing their ports when the thing break. I can't remember that. It is the world that actually shut their borders for Chinese people to come in. So I stand to be corrected, but I don't think they did.
They
okay.
did shut their ports. They shut their ports. That's why England looked like we was losing products. We didn't have our shops were empty basically because China wasn't sending stuff out.
They were
Oh,
sending stuff out from their seaports, not the airport. The airports were shut.
Their seaports were shut, Victor. As an ex-sailor, I could tell you that.
Okay.
any other comments about the topic? If you guys want to share, if no, let's go home.
I think one thing I would say is, although it is an uncertain thing, it's very volatile at the moment. I think that the big difference between this new financial system that we see developing is that you have a chance to shape it. People have a chance to shape it now. It's still very new, still less than 5% of the world population is involved in it, but there's loads of space to get involved, either in blockchain technology or in decentralized finance or in NFTs or whatever. And I think although it can sometimes be scary because it's new, it's worth taking a look and seeing what's happening and seeing what freedoms are related to it and not following the propaganda, because with everything there's always going to be propaganda and a kind of a negative. There's a negative and a positive crowd to follow in everything. I think it's best to always try and lean towards the positive. Think critically. Of course, you don't want to be naive, but try to get involved in investing and developing the infrastructure around it, because the more people do that, the more they can have a say in how it develops and shapes. If you sit back and do nothing just because you're scared, then you can't complain on 10 or 20 years time when it looks like something that you didn't want it to look like. That's what I'd say. So yeah, back to you, Matilda.
Very good. Anyone else want to say something about topic today? Any wisdom you want to share?
Yes, well, Sasha, he made up his mind. He's saying he will invest after regulations.
Very good, Sasha. Lovely. Okay. I want to thank Christopher Gray. Please join us next Monday as well. Every Monday, 7 p.m. London time, we are coming back with a different topic. We would love to have you. Sasha, it's always a joy to have you in the podcast as well. I have you at home and the podcast. It's a good sign. And Nelson, thank you for watching our show and commenting. Please do join next Monday and then the weeks afterwards as well. We love to hear from you. And yeah, I'm gonna give my co-host to tell us where we can find their podcast. Victor, shall we go with you?
Um, yeah, I'm the host of the Diaspora Entrepreneurs podcast, and you can find me on you can find my podcast on Apple Podcast, Apple iTunes, all major platforms, including YouTube. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Victor. Taxi Chronicles and African Investor Stories podcast. You can find me on all major platforms. We're over to you, Carla.
I'm Carla. I'm the host of the Wonder and Wellbeing podcast, which is a podcast about education and well-being. We're not online at the moment, actually, but if you've got any questions or any ideas for upcoming episodes, do reach out to me so that when we get back up and running and get a new season going, I can cover the topics that you're into. Over to you, Howler.
Yes, and I'm the host of the podcast Human Stories. A new episode will be on the 21st of June, so tune in for a new episode on Stories podcast. Over to you, Matilla.
And my podcast is all podcast platforms, YouTube and Facebook. And I want to remind you the next week, what's the topic going to be? It's about the future of humans, gene editing, metaverse, and what will happen to humanity. I'm very, it's one of my favorite topics right now. So I'm excited about next week. So please do join Christopher Gray. So you're showing up now. Show up next week as well with your comments. Um, it seems like he has a last comment.
Yes,
Salah.
he's talking about Kenya that it had digital currency for 15 years and it has opened up the whole economy to everyone, rich and poor. So yeah, this is an interesting topic to talk about for.
Very nice. Thank you, Christopher. Please like us and subscribe us. You know, you came this far, so subscribe as well. And then tell your friends to show up for the show as well. We might have an interesting topic for you or your friends. And that's it. Till next Monday.
Bye.
Ciao.